Brian Donahue with Appcore. We are going to do a demonstration about Appcore AMP, which is our automation management platform. What Appcore does is we automate the business of cloud computing. We are a cloud platform manufacturer for private cloud for enterprise as well as for service providers offering public cloud. And our flagship product is called Appcore AMP, which is an automation management platform. Can everybody hear me okay with the lavalier? Sorry. Okay. And we're going to do a demo on AMP today. So we deploy our automation management platform software and systems in 3 different ways. One on an appliance, where you can manage your existing infrastructure. So if you've got a VMware cluster and some storage, or you've got Xen or a KVM cluster, or even some vBlocks or some Flex pods or anything like that that you want to create into a public cloud environment or run internally as your private, then Appcore AMP will sit on top of that and manage that set of infrastructure. We also deliver it as converged infrastructure and as white label off of our cloud. So some of the features of this is it gives you a single interface to manage multiple clouds and zones, technology agnostic in that we can manage multiple types of hosts and hypervisors. And what it really brings in is your metering, billing, and account management for all of your cloud operations. This is an example of converged infrastructure. So, just to give you some context of what AMP will do is that it'll manage your existing infrastructure, which is really important, and that slide does not want to stay on that screen. You can manage your bare metal operations, and so if you've got dedicated servers that are running email servers or databases, that kind of thing, you can manage those as if they were in the cloud. You scale multiple zones, different physical locations around the world. And so we have customers that have 10 different zones, 10 different data centers, all managed as one network in one cloud. You can manage object storage and then external cloud bridging. So this is an example of the stack that's involved. And so when you're dealing with virtualization, say you have your VMware environment, just to give you a good example. So you've created your networks for your VMware, you're dealing with that at the host level, but then now you have to integrate your networking and your storage together. And so we do that through an orchestration layer of console. We integrate the billing and the support aspects, as well as your NOC, launch to cloud, virtual machines, and then your automation management portal sits on top of all of that. And then you have your entry points. So whether you're running a private cloud or a public cloud, you have to have an IT portal and an app store to deal with your users. So this is just an example of a VLAN network, one screen that shows you an entire customer or a network for your internal departments, how to manage that inside. We're going to go through and we'll look at that in a little more detail. Let me give you some deployment examples. So here's some private cloud components as to what's involved. Now I do a private cloud speech all over the world, and we said I did one yesterday. There's 200 people in there, and out of that, maybe 4 or 5 had actually deployed private clouds in their environments. And so they have virtualization in place, but now they need to move into more business consumer resources like customer self-service, single tenant infrastructure, automated provisioning of your resources, internal chargeback. And so here's a way to deploy. A good example is Bluebird Network. It's a fiber network in Missouri, but 20 telcos got together and they deployed Appcore AMP as converged infrastructure to share between all those different telcos. What they do is they run their billing software on it, and then they run their internal networks, and then charge back that resource between each other. So they had a successful deployment with a fiber network, and then they added compute to that, which they also shared between all of those examples. Here's an example in Hong Kong. So CloudNet HK is a group of associated technical businesses. They got together to really automate the deployment of their internal compute, and then they had one of those customers that wanted to deliver this as public cloud as well. So the same infrastructure, internal private cloud with some hybrid options, which means dedicated resources just for those internal users, and then the excess capacity they sold out as a public cloud offering. So how do they do all this automation? Let me go to web for just a second. Alright, so this is a demo environment of Appcore AMP, and what we're looking at here is multiple clouds that are in place. This is multiple sets of infrastructure, and then on sets of infrastructure you can go and you can deal with white label environments or different branding environments as separate cloud automation systems. So, the screen is very small. Let's see if I can make it smaller. So now what you're looking at is a dashboard of a certain piece of infrastructure. And so if you're a large enterprise, you have multiple locations around the world, you have multiple sets of infrastructure, then you're driving down into one set of infrastructure or one cloud. So this is a cloud dashboard. It just shows you some top-level view of your CPU, your RAM utilization, your storage utilization, your IPs. It looks like we need to add some more IPs on that one. Your different running VMs, your high-level snapshot, whether you're running it as a billing environment, support. So then from a global perspective, think about this as you're looking at tangible infrastructure. So you have physical machine infrastructure all down into this particular cloud, and then it scrolls across from the left to the right dealing with your virtual infrastructure, services that are in place, your billing aspects, intelligence, API documentation, users, company-specific components, different tools and training systems. So driving down into a particular cloud, looking at zone details, and so right here, we're on our physical infrastructure, we're looking at zone manager. And so this is a higher level detail of zone. You see that we've over allocated CPU, but actual usage is very low. I/O on this. So one quick snapshot of your physical infrastructure in place. Driving down into that, you can see your NOC environment with utilization on particular physical machines. And then you drive down into a particular account. Now an account is a VLAN inside of your cloud. And so this is a demo account of one of mine, and gives you to find out what's happening with the reads and writes across these VMs. Looking at individual VMs that are in place, you can see what IPs, what ports are in place. For example, this is a small WordPress server. You can see it's 1 gig of RAM, 1 CPU, a bunch of writes, a few reads on it. It's not really doing much. Right from here, you can start, stop, destroy this particular machine. You can deal with the router on this account, on this VLAN. You can restart it or even rebuild it and set new rules in place, and you can log in as this particular user. So, also directly from here, you just add a new virtual machine. You can go back one so you can see. So you're looking at here a set of infrastructure, and then all of the individual VLAN environments inside of it, what they're running inside of that, and then you can drive down into a particular network. So a very quick way to get an overview of all of your infrastructure that's in place. Now this system is managing multi-cloud, so it talks down into your different orchestration layers. This talks into Cloud Stack, it'll talk into OpenStack, it'll bridge into your Amazon or your Rackspace environment, and you have one interface to manage all of those clouds. Now, if you are a service provider, this level here will give you some detail. This is billing intelligence that's in place. And so you can go and drive down into and understand what's happening with your RAM, your processing, IP allocation, revenue received from that particular day for each of these components. And that starts to give you an idea about your pricing that you're setting. You can come in and alter your pricing to reallocate that and find out what would happen if you change the analytics on that particular price set. Wouldn't it be that easy? Now, a lot of the magic of AMP is that we have an AMP API that you can open and write into for your different applications. So we tie into enterprise systems like Great Plains, relation billing, different types of billing systems, Uber Smith, WHMCS, as well as the multiple different cloud orchestration management layers. All of this is tied into the training system built in place. Now, Kaltura was just up here previously. We use Kaltura server is built into our training system for all of the video management, all runs in the cloud. Then we also have a technology called Launch to Cloud. This is an example of in this case, it's a public cloud app store that we package up VMs. We can make decisions for the customer to be, as far as networking and components like that, and package those VMs into a way that where it becomes just a one-click launch environment. So if you want to launch a Windows 2012 server, this would be on a level 3, it'd be 24 cents an hour. Click the button, it goes in and creates an account for you, and network and launches that particular VM. Applications to run your public cloud environment. Go back to our presentation. Okay, so AMP automation will manage your infrastructure, host environment, storage environments, multiple tiers. It'll manage your networking and across different zones. But then also we wrap around that the entire business of cloud computing as well. So here's an example of what we just went through. Business analytics, user and product billing. So you can set up different types of service offerings, whether you want to offer those as cloud different server levels, or you want to have a slider that allows people to select as many RAM and CPU and storage that they want. Example of orchestration, driving down into Cloud Stack or OpenStack and managing both of those. This aspect from the App Store of being able to package up and automate the deployment of VMs. So we've launched the cloud, they click on that particular button, it creates the infrastructure selection form, lays down the OS and the operating system, or the operating system and the application, creates that VLAN network form, sends them an email, username and password, and it starts the billing process. So how software departments use this is they package internally their different development environments as a cluster. They can create it all into one click button so that a programmer doesn't have to contact IT or systems admins to create a new development environment for them. We do have a master app store. We have about 100 applications that are created as cloud servers, all of the Microsoft catalog, a whole bunch of open source, and then the technology there is for individual enterprises to lay down their own. The cloud site, your portal, training system, different branding and applications. So all of this comes together so that we can deliver a public cloud environment in 45 days to be revenue ready. So we just a good example of this is we brought up the Philippines' first public cloud environment for PLDT. Previously, the entire country of the Philippines had to go to Singapore or Hong Kong or back to the United States for cloud services. They brought in Appcore, would deliver converged infrastructure, wrapped around all of this applications with it, and delivered their first environments, cloud.com.ph. So converged infrastructure we have an example of this in our booth. Best practices for storage, best practices for networking and hosting, as well as we now deliver this entire operation in a 2U appliance for managing your existing infrastructure, but also if you have an environment where you just have a private cloud, we can deliver that now in just a 2U environment as opposed to a whole rack. Really driving a lot of the cost out of this. And that's our story. So I appreciate everybody's time today. Stop by our booth. We're at 222, and we can do some individual demos and examples for you there. Everybody have a good show.